the dust that your father rubbed upon his eyes, inshallah, through the barakah of this, Allah will forgive him and give him Jannah.
Hazrat, you mentioned about Hazrat Umar Hafidahullah Ta'ala, Sheikh Umar, Habib Umar.
Yes.
मदीना शरीफ में हमारी जो मुलाकात हुई थी हजरत शेख हबीब जिफरी
जी हबीब अली अल-जिफरी
हबीब अली अल-जिफरी जो मदीने में रहते हैं, क्या नाम उनका?
हबीब आदिल अल-जिफरी.
हबीब आदिल अल-जिफरी. If you remember, he mentioned one Karamat of Ghause Pak with Hazrat Sheikh Alawi al-Maliki rahimahullah ta'ala. अगर आपको याद हो वो हमारे नाज़रीन के साथ उसे आप शेयर करें.
This is, I'm glad Allah Masab reminded me that look, Nisbat with Ghause Pak, Sayyid Muhammad bin Alawi al-Maliki al-Hassani al-Shadhili rahimahumullah ta'ala, he was Shadhili in Tariqa, Muhaddisul Harimain. And our ulama and akabirin from the Asian subcontinent have had a very close connection with Huzur Muhaddisul Harimain. They have exchanged sanad, a chain of transmission of hadith with him, and they would attend his gatherings and he would attend their gatherings as well. Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki radiyallahu anhu warda, alayhi rahmatu wa ridwan, he was hit with a paralysis attack and his left hand became paralyzed. And he himself said, now we've got a recording of this. Sayyid Muhammad bin Alawi al-Maliki is saying these words and it was recorded. And Habib Adil al-Jifri has the recording and he sent it to us on via WhatsApp. Benefit of modern technology. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Ye dekho, WhatsApp ki bhi nisbat hoti hai. So the recording, the voice of Sayyid Muhammad bin Alawi al-Maliki, he himself says that I went to Uhud to do dua in the bargah of Sayyidina Sarkar Amir Hamza radiyallahu anhu warda. Allah mudi shafaat, from Allah give me shifa through the blessings of Sayyidina Amir Hamza. He said, I went to Badr. He said, I went to Rawdatu Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and I kept doing dua for shifa. And he said, I wasn't receiving shifa until I saw the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam himself and the Sahaba from Badr in my dream. And they said to me that your shifa lies in Baghdad with Ghawth Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. He said, the Prophet said this to me. He says, I woke up and it was during the time when the Gulf War was on. So it was very difficult to get to Baghdad. But then he said, I didn't tell my wife because she would worry. But I told my khadim, book a flight from Jeddah to Baghdad for a few days. I need to go there. And he says, my khadim was very hesitant. But he said that I insisted that you must do this. I have to go to Baghdad. So he said, my khadim booked the flight and I didn't tell my wife. In the morning, when I got up, I packed my bag, small suitcase, and I was getting ready to leave. And I said to my wife, I have to go somewhere for a few days. I will be back. She came up to me and she says, are you going to Baghdad? And he asked, how do you know this? And his wife is from the children of Ghause Pak. She's from the family of Ghause Pak. She's a Jilani Sayyida. And she said, my grandfather, Huzur Ghause Pak, visited me last night in my dream and he showed me a photograph. And he said, this, your husband, is coming to visit me. So he said, I went. Now, he said, I went. It was during the Gulf War. I didn't have visa. Nothing. He says, I didn't have a visa, no accommodation booked, nothing. Just Ghause Pak ka naam liya. I said the name of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, left it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I left. He said, I arrived at the airport. The authorities at the airport, they says, you don't have a visa. Where were you going? He says, I just want to visit Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. He said, the head minister of Iraq at that time, he says, look, there's a war going on. Are you a spy from Saudi? Because you've come from Saudi. You're a spy from them, this, that. And he says, by Allah, I am not. And the head minister then called the foreign minister. The foreign minister came to the airport and he says, he looked at my face and he says, you don't have the face of a liar. You look like you're from the Shurafa, a noble individual. Who are you? He says, I am a Sayyid and I want to visit my grandfather, Ghause Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. So he says, okay, you have 3 days, 2 nights and 3 days. Come back here. If you're not back here, then we will find you and we will arrest you, put you in prison. He said, so I left the airport. I didn't know how to get there. Taxi, money, nothing. I didn't have anything with me. A man approached me and he says, you look like a musafir, you look like a traveler. Who are you? He says, my name is Muhammad bin Alwi al-Maliki. I'm from Makkah. I want to go to the Darbar of Ghause Pak. I want to go to the Astana Sharif. He says, come on, I'll take you. And he says, as we were driving, he asked me, where will you be staying? Where will you be eating and drinking? He said, Sayyid Muhammad Alwi al-Maliki said, I don't have any arrangements made. So this man said, okay, all the days that you are here, I will look after you. Don't worry, you can be my guest. You go to the Astana, you do what you have to do. Then I will look after your needs for your food and drink and everything. Muhaddis al-Haramain said, I went inside the maqam, the Astana, I sat there, I prayed, I done istighatha in the presence of Ghause Pak that your son has come. Give me shifa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Grant me shifa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your son has come. He said, I kept saying these things. Then at night, they would close the Astana. So one night, one of the Khuddam, he was closing the Astana and he says, come on, everyone has to leave now. So Sayyid Muhammad Alwi al-Maliki said, he says, in Makkah and Medina, the Wahhabis kick us out. Here, you kick us out? He said, I said this jokingly to him. And he said, okay, if you want to stay a bit longer, you can stay a bit longer. So he says, I would stay a little bit longer because the Khadim would give me a bit more time. And I would stay as long as I can inside the Astana. I would come out. Then the brother who had brought me from the airport to the Astana would look after me, feed me, and what have you. Third day came. I got back into his car. And we were on our way to the airport. And he said, Sayyid Muhaddis al-Haramain said, last night when I was asleep, Ghause Pak came in my dream. And he said to me, Abdul Aziz has been looking after you. I don't know who this Abdul Aziz is. The taxi driver, he said, my name is Abdul Aziz. My name is Abdul Aziz. So he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't. All these days, I've not asked your name. I've been so pressurized about my illness and about getting shifa. I've not even asked your name. Please forgive me. And he said, I went inside the airport. I was going up the stairs. And with my hand, I held onto the rail of the stairs. And my hand started moving. The Karamat of Ghause Pak became apparent before he left Baghdad Sharif. And this is who Muhaddisul Haramain, Sayyid Muhammad bin Alwi al-Maliki, rahmatullahi ta'ala, who said, my hand has been given by Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. The Arab ulama, the Asian ulama, the Akabirin of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah globally, they say we receive what we receive from Huzur Ghause Abdul Qadir al-Jilani.